Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now this is a rather interesting looking piece of apple. It does have a fair amount of cracking. Looks like there could be something hidden in there and splits and stuff all over, but generally it's not too bad. Now I've had this piece for quite a while and I've gone to start it a few times but then changed my mind. So today is the day, I think, that we actually try and do something with it. Now my initial thoughts are to create some sort of natural bowl with it. And the best place I can see to make that bowl is in here somewhere. Now the reason I'm saying that is because the offcuts of branches that we've got are all leaning towards this way. So that makes more sense to do it that way. It's going to give us more flexibility. Now the only thing really stopping us turning it that way is this limb that we have jutting out. So before we do anything, I'm going to take this over to the bandsaw, nip this off, and then I'll go over to my pedestal drill, put a 52mm hole in there, enough for my jaws to get in there, or maybe a worm screw or a drive center, and then we can get it on the lathe. So please stick around because this one could be interesting. Okay, there we are. We've cut off our little limb, which is this guy here. That's quite a nice little offcut, so we'll keep that for something else. I'm sure something will come up. I've also drilled into the base, or which will be the top, with a Forstner bit, and that's a good enough, deep enough hole to be able to fit nicely onto our Victory chuck, so we can hold it nice and safely. Right, I'm all sharpened up, and then we're just going to start spinning this up and see how fast it's going to be safe to turn at. I was asked last week, how do you know how fast to turn? And the general rule of thumb, in my opinion, is that you turn as fast as you can while keeping yourself safe. In other words, you don't want to go so fast that the vibrations become too bad and it runs a risk of coming off and hurting you or damaging the equipment. So now we've got it set at the lowest speed in gear 2 ratio of the lathe, which should start it off spinning at about 450 RPM. Okay, right, so let's just slowly increase that. Right, that's 570. There's no discernible vibration yet, so we can continue. Okay, this is looking good. That's 650. Right, if you look at Hooch sat on the back of the lathe there, he's just starting to wobble a little bit at 750 RPM. So I'm just going to back that off a fraction, back to about 690, 700. And that's the speed we're going to start. Now as we're turning, this will go through stages of becoming more balanced and less balanced depending where the high and low points are on this wood. But hopefully by the end we can start picking that up closer to 1,000 and beyond RPMs later on in the turning. So anyway, right, we've sharpened up. We're going to start off with a 3/8 inch 60-degree record power bowl gouge. And initially I just want to take off these areas here and start turning it up a little bit. Now I didn't go to the extent of trying to cut this round or anything like that because I want to leave as many options open as to what this becomes, because at the moment I haven't got a clue. Now I've got the tool rest as close as I can without it actually touching anything. This is the main culprit here. As soon as this area goes, I'll be able to move it closer still. Okay, we've made a start. we're not cutting all the way around yet, far from it. We're only basically cutting in 2 little pieces and a bit round there. But that'll change over time, I'm sure. Now we've got a fair bit of cracking going on around here, which I was expecting. It kind of, anywhere where there's a pith or a branch coming out, on apple especially, you are going to get an awful lot of cracking, unfortunately, like that big guy there. So we're just going to have to keep a close eye on them, make sure that nothing is going to be structurally damaging to us, and keep our nerve. Well, not keep our nerve, just keep going, but just always be aware. All right, we're going to keep on turning up these edges and see what appears. Okay, progress is progressing. Some nice grain around there coming through. I'm not sure what's going to be left by the end, but it's nice to see it. Now we're starting to cut nearly all the way around this centre, so we are going to need to go up a reasonable distance more so we have enough material to create a foot. So let's look at what material widths we have around this kind of area. Is probably where, oh, maybe not. That's going to be quite a dip in there. I think no matter what we look at with this, we are going to have some natural shape in there. We're certainly not going to get a standard round piece out of it. So I think we just carry on going. Let's go further up, deeper into here, and keep on working up these sides. Okay, starting to take shape. Not sure exactly what shape yet, but it's starting to take shapes in some way. Now I did say that this was apple, and I'm still not convinced that it's not apple. It just doesn't look like apple. It certainly doesn't look like any kind of apple that I've turned before, but I may be wrong. There is an apple-like aroma from the wood. It may be a slightly different species of apple I've never turned before. Not that I've turned an awful lot of apples, so if you have any opinions on the matter, please let me know, because I'm not 100% certain. The main thing which is making me think it's not apple is the colour of the heartwood. I've always been used to apple being a little darker than that. I don't know. Anyway, we'll carry on. It's not going to change what we're going to do with it. Not that we know what we're going to do with it. So, all's going well so far. We do have a fair array of interesting holes in this and splits and things, so we're going to keep on going until at least get up to the top of the wings all the way around, at least there, and then we'll take another breath and figure out where we go from there. I would still like to go a little bit higher in this area, at least to there, to get this bit of wood on show, and that will bring this area, I would imagine, at least up to there. Okay, you know I said I didn't think it was apple? Well, it's not. It's not apple. I've just been through to eBay where I purchased this from over a year ago, and it's mulberry. And I'm an idiot. So anyway, right, we are turning, not apple, we are turning mulberry, but the end result is going to be very much the same, I hope. Right, we've continued working up these sides. I still want to go a bit further on here to get rid of this flat spot. A shape hasn't necessarily appeared yet, but I'm quite liking the way it's going so far. We've got this lump sticking out here, and if it gets turned away, it gets turned away. If it's still there at the end, then that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to worry about that too much. So the next step is just pretty much carry on. I do want to get a bit higher on here to reveal more wood around there, and whatever happens there, let's carry on rounding up these tops. Okay, that was actually a good bit of progress. It kind of occurred to me that to get the most out of these different depths here, narrow there and wider there, if we make a longer stem on here, we can probably get more use of more of the wood further up, which seems like a good idea. We've got some amazing burls around there, which is wonderful to see. Now we did have some, that's good. We did have some splitting around this piece. You can still see a remaining bit there, but the rest of that's gone. I still think we're going to have reasonable bits around here, but again, we'll treat those as and when we need to. Right, so I'm just going to elongate this a little bit more and carry on working up these sides. But I'm starting to get a plan now. Okay, I've brought the tool rest around to the side to see if I can figure out what kind of shape is going to suit it further up. I'm liking this curve, but I don't want to do too much more on here until we figure out what's going on the rest of the piece. Okay, we are progressing nicely. We've got to the top of that area there. We're just waiting to try and get to the top of that one, which I want to do before we make any more decisions. This flat bit here, we're not going to get to the top of because that's right in on the chuck. In hindsight, I may have been slightly better off turning the other way up, but there's no point in worrying about that now. So anyway, I'm going to carry on, get this bit up to the top, match in the rest of this curve, and then we'll figure out what to do next. Okay, we're at the top of these two areas now, which is brilliant. This we're just going to have to live with and shape it in some way when we're hollowing it out. And we've got quite a big crack there, which is going to affect us when we're hollowing, I would imagine. I'll take a bit more wood away there and see how much of it we can get rid of. But apart from that, I think we're doing pretty well. I like this curved shape. We've still got some refining to do, obviously. But overall, I'm really liking this. The wood's absolutely amazing. Such a wonderful colour. Bit of chatoyance in the sapwood around there as well. Okay, so what do we do now? I think I'll come in here with a few supported finishing cuts, trying to remove a bit more wood around here and just refine this shape a little bit and see how we get on. I'll just quickly sharpen up one more time just so I can make these cuts as fine as possible. Okay, so a good look at this now. I took the tool stuck away when I was making those cuts just so I could get a nice supported cut coming up here. And it's looking pretty good. I've got a straight line, pretty much a straight line on this edge. And I've got to try and decide if that's what I want or if I want it to go in slightly. At the moment I think it's okay. I think I can live with that. Now as for cracks, we've got one there. The big one we had is thinning out nicely. We can deal with that with a bit of filler or something. Same with that one. Right, I've got a bit of a tool mark there which we need to sort out. And once we've done that, then we can have a look at sorting the base out so we can get this sanded. So right, let's work out this little tool mark here. That won't take 2 seconds, and then we'll look at the base. Okay, that's the recess nicely made. I'm just going to quickly sand over with just 120 sandpaper at the moment. I'm not going to do any more than that right now because once we've hollowed this out, I'm going to go on then and fill all the cracks with something or other and then finish off the sanding. So just a quick cursory one now, as it's nice and easy to get to, and then we'll do the proper sanding later on. I'll not make you watch it. I'll bring you back in a second when we've sanded and we've turned around. Okay, we've turned it around. We're nice and safely again locked off with tailstock support. Now, we've got quite a long way to go in, and we've got an awful lot of mess to go through. A lot of this here will disappear, likewise on this side, so it's going to be quite an uneven lip. This bit here, we've got to make a decision whether or not we leave the bark on and then have it just disappear on this edge and we'll just shape that nicely. Or we take the bark off everything and then just have this matching in some way. We won't have the sapwood unfortunately, but I guess we'll just have to do without it. We'll leave that decision until a little bit later on. I have unfortunately got myself the world's worst shape to hollow out, but we'll manage somewhere or another. Initially turning now, we're at about 850 RPM, so that's a pretty good speed to start off with, and carrying on with the 3/8 bowl gouge. Okay, hollowing is going fine. Just stopped to have a quick look at it. I think thickness wise on the edges we want to be around there, so we've still got a fair way to go. Now the tailstock is here at the moment to give us a bit of support, but it is going to have to go at some point relatively soon because it stops me getting the gouge over across to make these cuts into the edges. So we'll carry on for a little bit longer, as long as I can, with the tailstock being here, and then we'll have to get rid of it, unfortunately. Okay, that's as far as I can get with that in the way. So I'll say goodbye to the tailstock and carry on without it. Okay, we're into the time-consuming bit of removing material. Still got a good inch to go in at least. I may actually just put a Forstner bit in to take a lot of this mass out in the centre. That should help speed things up a bit. Okay, I'm going to put this in at about an inch, and that's going to save us quite a good amount of time. Okay, I've sharpened up my ball gouge again and my 45-degree ball gouge. Again, just to make life a little bit easier, so I'm not leaning over the lathe as much. I'm just going to turn the headstock out. And now I can stand up straight rather than leaning over and hollow out the rest of this piece. I'll just quickly alter the cameras and I'll bring it back. Okay, I think that's everything about as good as we can get it. I've also set up my curved tool rest, and this is going to help me keep the tool as close to the piece as possible as I'm cutting. The further the gap from the tip of the tool to the actual piece, the more chance you have of getting vibrations or catches or anything like that. So you've got to try and keep it down to a minimum. Okay, I think we've got that wall thickness right now, which is good. So all we've got to do now is just blend these two in together. I'm trying a big scraper in there, but it may need something a little bit more delicate than that. That was a bit of a catch, you can tell there. It's just not the bowl off a little bit and give me a small heart failure. Right, I'll just reseat this properly. Okay, that's good. Whew. Right, we've got a bit of cleaning up to do, haven't we? Right, carry on. Okay, I might need a new plan. Ooh, wow, that's a good one. Okay, right, we're going to avoid the large scraper for the time being, which is a shame because it was doing a lovely job. Right, what can I do? Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to sand this bit quickly, and then I shall bring you back when we're putting some filler in. Okay, sanded up to 150, and that all went very nicely. So I'm just going to go on and fill the cracks with this stuff. This is Brummer Stopping, a wood filler for interior and exterior. I've used it before. It works incredibly well. It's a bit sticky and fun to put on, but it does the job nicely. I'm just going to put bits on my finger like that, and then just rub it into the cracks, pushing relatively hard to make sure it's filled. It's not a process to rush. Just take your time and make sure that you get everything filled as well as you can. It takes about a couple of hours to dry and then sends back very, very easily. We don't have any structural cracks, so we don't need to use anything stronger than this. Okay, I think that is about it. Can't see any more, although I'll just give it a quick, careful look back over. No, that's it. Right, we'll give this a couple of hours to dry, then we'll come back and sand. Okay, the filler has had a chance to dry, so all we've got to do now is sand. I'll let you watch a bit of it, and I shall bring you back when we're done. Okay, sanding's all done. It did take a while, as you would imagine, but it's time for a bit of isopropyl alcohol to show out this amazing grain. That is beautiful. Let's do the back. That's just as nice. Right, I want to let this dry, then come back on with a sealer. But that is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, that's had plenty of time to dry. So on with our blonde shellac sealer. I know I use this an awful lot, but it's an incredibly useful sealing product. And with with it being a blonde shellac, the coating will go with absolutely anything. You can put any finish you want on top of this and it won't react at all. It does make the piece look absolutely beautiful as well. Right, let's do the bark, then we'll do the back. Now the bark didn't all stay on. We've lost a couple of pieces, or one piece there, but I think it just adds to the overall natural look of the piece. You can't force wood to be something it's not, so you just have to embrace what's there. Make sure we get a good coating on this bark to keep it nice and stable. As the seasons change, there's always a chance that the bark will come off, but that's one of the problems with leaving pieces with natural bark. Okay, right, we'll do the back. Okay, I'm going to let this dry. And when it has, I think I'll just apply one more quick coat, especially on the bark, and then we'll come back and cut it back. Those two coats have dried nicely, so rather than using an abrasive paste, which is very difficult to use on a piece like this because it's all over the place, I'm just attached a 1000 grit pad. This is like a 3M pad to my drill, and we'll be doing it mechanically using this. I'll do a little bits that I can do with the piece spinning, but then I'll lock it off and do the other areas manually. Okay, excellent. I'm just going to give it a quick wipe over to get the dust off. Right, we'll let that dry for a second and then come back for the final coat. Okay, all nice and dry and looking beautiful. So we're going to go on with one of my favourite finishes, which is the Howard Feed and Wax. This bottle's about had it. It's nearly done, but I do have another one in the cupboard. The way this works is that you apply it nice and generally to the surface and then let it sit for about 20 minutes or so. I'll just dab the bark, and after 20 minutes I'll come back on and polish it off. See if there's anything left in here for the back. That'll do. Okay, I'll let this sit and come back and give it a buff up in about 20 minutes. And I'll have a final tidy round, and then I'll bring you back and we'll take a final look at what we've done. Well, there we go. One natural edge mulberry bowl. I do feel a bit of an idiot calling it apple for quite a while, but we all do these things. We all forget what we've bought, and it happened to me. So please feel free to make as many jokes as you like in the comments below, and I will take them all with good humour. As I did mention, this is the first time I've ever turned mulberry, and it really is a beautiful wood. It's very, very much like black locust in terms of grain pattern and colour. The main difference between the two is that black locust is fluorescent under UV light and mulberry is not. So if you ever have a piece of wood that looks like this and you were wondering which one it was, then just put it under a black light and you'll be able to identify it fairly easily. I'm happy with the overall shape. I may have got it slightly wrong in orientation on the lathe, and we might have been able to avoid this flat area here, but we've sympathetically sanded it and it looks okay. I've left a couple of the saw marks in deliberately just to give an indication of its history. I'm pretty happy with it. There's some amazing grain pattern in here, which I absolutely adore, especially around this area here. I did get a couple of nasty catches on this one towards the end, but we don't worry about things like that. When you're working with funny shaped pieces like this and you're trying to get into the corners, things can happen, but don't ever let it worry you. Just just fix the problem and move on. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this one, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe and all the usual things, and if you could share it as well, then that would be absolutely amazing. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Tim, McKeaney, Andre, Joe, Mick and Brian for supporting me this week through buying me a coffee and through the website. Your support is very much appreciated, and it all gets put back into the channel so we can get more wonderful pieces of wood and equipment. So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you.